there was a surprise packet, like a surprise top 3 in the best and fairest from what I've seen. Hello and welcome to the 2026 season preview for the Carlton Football Club here on the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. This is the 9th season preview on this channel. The first couple were done via audio and then Facebook, but the rest of them have been on YouTube. And yeah, we're getting on, man. We're getting on. This is the 9th season of coverage here at Blue Abroad, and goes without saying, always excited to be bringing in another season. The footy is the anchor of a lot of our lives, and the Carlton Football Club is the anchor of a lot of our lives. We love it. We can't live with it at times. We can't live without it at times. But I'm just really relieved to get to this point, filming this on Friday the 27th of February, and pre-season's done, practice matches are done, and yeah, just ready to start talking about the real stuff. So in this video, I'm going to preview the year ahead. I'm also going to do some season predictions as well. I know a lot of you have been talking about prediction videos and who do you think is going to win this and win that. So I'll do that at the end of this video, and then I will allow you the opportunity in the comments below to put your predictions and even write your season preview. We can use this as the total season preview, and then we can refer back to it at the end of 2026. Now, last year, I talked a lot about really the dysfunction of the team. And when I looked back at my previous season previews, last year I was inspired by a book called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Nobody picked it up apart from one person. So this year I have a new theme. And within that theme, it's a book that I've been reading. I've actually reread it. I've had this book for a while. And I want you to try and guess which book I have been inspired by when it comes to the season preview this year. And I guess I'm just going to boil it down to, 4 or 5 key questions of the things that I'll be looking for this year. But as I said, we move on. 2026, we finally get to stop talking about the past and what happened and who's aligned and who's not and who's with us and who's against us. If last year was the year of revelations, as I thought it might be, this year I want to talk and I want to see more soul. The spiritual bankruptcy was a theme of 2025, and I think in 2026 we regain that. What that looks like from a wins or losses point of view, I think is yet to be seen. I don't know. I mean, I'm always hopeful that we're going to win more games this year than what we did last year and improve. Everyone does. Everyone wants their team to do the very best that it possibly can. But I think the biggest issue going into this year that I said from really the preseason last year and it still rings true now, is alignment. The connection and the alignment is the most important thing in order to just get back on track. We obviously fell off last year, so can the club get back on track on the field and off the field? It's a total club buy-in that is important. One of the other issues that I think is important this year is trust. There's been a lot of trust. The word gets thrown around a lot. I think it's important on the field, and I'll touch on it shortly, but even off the field, I think the competitive advantage of the Carlton Football Club is the fan base. And if it's a competitive advantage, it can also be a disadvantage because it's so powerful. And by and large, I think if the fan base trusts what's going on at the club, they'll get behind the club. I think it's pretty simple. And so how do you foster trust? Well, transparency, communication, things of that nature. Wins help. Seeing winning habits, seeing winning attitudes, seeing winning actions will always help. But sometimes winning can mask what's really going on beneath the surface. So I can only talk at this point of what I've seen and observed from the end of last year through the sweeping changes and now the preseason of what we've seen. And what I've seen, the additions of Graham Wright and Chris Davies in particular off the field, together with the additions of coaching support from Michael Voss, leadership and culture additions with Travis Boak. I think it's been pretty well documented that the club looked to improve the culture and the environment of the place, because it clearly wasn't anywhere near what it needed to be last year, and that's why we got what we got last year by and large. So at the time of filming this, if you sort of just compare 12 months ago, we had had a president fall. We had had a couple of serious injuries, including to our, the future of the club in Jagga Smith. We had had a really important veteran on the team in Nick Newman go down with ultimately a season-ending injury as well. And yeah, we're sort of on the back foot compared with the expectations. Whereas now I actually think we're in a really curious position. I don't know if there's as much external expectation and intensity being put onto the Carlton Football Club. And I think there is that opportunity at the start of the season to build momentum. And so everything that I've seen in the preseason so far has been intent. There's been a real purpose. Practice matches do not matter and the final score does not matter, but the application does. The way in which they conduct themselves every time they take the field and speak in front of a camera is important. And I can't fault what I've seen so far, whether it's a player or an administrator. So these are some of the things that I believe are extremely important in 2026 that I will be looking for. The first one is the collective bigger than the individual? I believe ego can destroy teams. So here's what I'll be watching for. When we're under pressure, are we still looking for the handball receive? Are we still doing the little things, the shepherding, the selfless acts? Are we still spreading? Are we still making the extra option? Or do we go into that hero mode? Do we have the trust on the field? I think this year it needs to be about the collective flow of the team. The next thing, how are we going to handle the emotional swings? This game is emotional. This club is emotional. You can't deny it. You can't change it. You just got to learn how to work within it and use it to your advantage. So when there's a turnover, when there's a momentum shift, when there's 2 or 3 quick opposition goals, and suddenly the game feels like it's slipping away, will we be able to stay centered when that chaos hits? I'll be looking for that on the field. I'll be looking for that off the field as well. I think the fan base have a role to play in that regard as well. Does the fan base drop their heads? Do we get into our shells? And do you start to see that collective energy of, here we go again, when things don't go our way? Because the game will no doubt present challenges for the club, whether it's injuries, suspensions, poor umpire decisions, things that are out of our control. And so how will we react when those emotional swings go against us? The third thing is, are the roles on the field, are they crystal clear? I think this is massive. I think the best teams in the competition clearly know what their defined roles are. We can get sucked into looking for individual stars and stats and those things. And oftentimes the guys who perform their role, or they're labeled as role players, they can sometimes be the first players to get singled out with criticism. I think of a guy like Ollie Hollands. I think of a guy like Lockie Fogarty. I think externally, you could easily look at 1 or 2 of their moments and pick on a bad kick or a bad handball or the like. But if you talk to people in the club, they really value the unrewarded running and movement that those 2 players do. Those are just 2 examples. I think there's other players in a similar spot. So does everybody know what their defined role is? And do they excel in their defined role? Or do they try and overstep their mark? Are they trying to just play to their strengths, or are they trying to do too much? I think when you start doing too much, as I said earlier, that is a sign of a lack of trust. Because I think when the roles are clear, clarity happens. And when clarity happens, connection happens. And if this team is connected as a unit and the fan base trust it and the fan base jump on board on game day, that's where the magic happens. And that kind of leads into my next question, which is also something I've relayed over the first few, is there visible trust? I think it's a behavior. Is there celebrating when a player does a certain thing all throughout the season? I think early on in the season, everyone's going to be up and about, but there will naturally come that lull period in the season where it's not so much, we're so excited for the footy to start. It's round 1, MCG or opening round, and we're up and about for it. Once we start getting into winter and the mood of the place can be affected by the fact that, the grind starts, are those behaviors continuing to be displayed? Are we still celebrating the little moments? Are the leaders still steady when things start wobbling? Do they know when to insert themselves? Is there trust on the field to the point where we can start seeing them be a bit more demanding of each other? It might look demonstrative, but I think in order to give that strong feedback to a teammate, you have to have an element of trust. And so I think that's a really important behavior that I'll be looking out for. I mean, you can feel it also when you watch the team when it's out there. Sometimes you can't define it in the moment, but you can feel when something's off. I think it appears in defensive coverage, the extra efforts, and ultimately the voice and direction out there on the field. And then, a big one, it's the response to adversity. When there's an injury or a bad quarter or a bad patch or media narratives, momentum swings on the field, off the field that are against the club, how do we react? I believe adversity actually reveals the inner alignment of an individual and of a team, whether it's a sporting team or a business. It's ultimately when things get tough. So if I look at Brisbane as an example, right now the narrative is two-time premiership team, the standard. But it wasn't that long ago that it was, oh my God, they keep losing. They keep getting there. They keep getting to the top four. They keep getting to the prelim week and they keep falling over. And now we can look back and say, wow, all those harsh lessons became the foundation for what we see now as an ultra successful team and a club. And those are the sorts of things that I am hoping to see at Carlton. Last year was a truly challenging year. There was a lot of adversity for a number of reasons. And it's like, basically, how are we going to come out the other end of that? Look, this list has talent. A lot of the talk has been about the talent that's been lost. Kerno, Silvani, De Koning, awesome. The list still has talent. There are still serious names in there. I'm really excited to stop talking too much about the individuals as a brag and start talking more about the team. I'm really curious to see the evolution in the conversation, the way that we talk about the team, the way that we think about the team. I think the old school thought has been, we have the X, Y, and Z player, therefore we're a good team. It's just not the case. The individuals never can be better than the collective. So that's something I'm pretty pumped for. There's obviously concerns. I mean, I have concerns around, I'm looking at what happens if it goes right. There's obviously what happens if it goes wrong. I still think the depth in the key position slots is a question. We've got, in defence, we've got two young defenders in Harry O'Farrell, who is not going to be ready at the start of the season, obviously. He's coming back from an ACL. And Harry Dean, who will play early, but you just want to be mindful. So I think we're sort of covered in the next sort of medium to long term. And then in the short term, I obviously have question marks. We've picked up Wade Dirksen now, so hopefully he can fill a gap there. Nick Newman will be back after his suspension. Nick Haynes will be back after round 2, I believe it is. So a few concerns there. And then in the forward line, Harry Mackay is a pretty established key forward. After him, it kind of drops off significantly. However, there is this addition of Ainsworth and Haywood, who are proven goal kickers, but also proven performers in big games and as consistent players. So I think we're going to get a lot more of a well-rounded forward line than what we've had. It's just Harry's a bit of an anchor. I don't have this expectation of him going out there now that Charlie's not there and kicking 70 goals. I have the expectation more so of him becoming the leader in the forward line that we really haven't had. And the forward structure is really set up around Harry and everyone around him. And so that's a really important part there. So ultimately, I'm looking for the soul. I want the soul of Carlton to return. I want to go to the footy. I want to hear the roar. I've been watching clips recently in various videos that I've created. The semi-final, we all remember the crowd that night. Obviously, finals football noise is different to, regular season. But one thing about Carlton games that I miss more than anything is when there's a vibe, like the vibe of the footy. It just, we never really saw it last year. The Geelong game was good. The Saints game was good last year. But in my opinion, apart from that, it just wasn't there. And so I think all the team and the club can do is just put their best foot forward, apply themselves in the best manner possible, have everyone on the same page. I think the fact that Sam Walsh has signed his deal before the season is a major statement. We just eliminate the speculation and potential misalignment, not knowing is he staying, is he going. There's no subconscious, hey, is he even going to be here next year? What the fuck are we doing? He's there. He's a leader. He's committed. There's quite a few players out of contract, but I don't think any of them have as much of a gravitational pull as Sam Walsh. And the reason why I say that is because he is a leader, and he is someone that the club's clearly wanting to invest in for the future. So I'm really pleased with that. I'm really pleased with what the preseason has shown so far, and I just can't wait to have the Raw back, like just to remember what it's like to be excited for the footy rather than dreading what's about to happen. And so that's my overarching summary. Now let's turn to some predictions. So of everything that I've seen in the preseason so far, I've been to all the open training sessions. The player that has stood out to me the most, Sam Walsh is the obvious answer, but there's always this conversation around who's going to go to the next level. And in my lens and from what I've seen and, you know, the way I think the game rewards people, I really think Ollie Hollands is about to take a really important step forward in his career. I'm not saying he'll average 7 or 8 more possessions and increase by 20% than what he was in 2025, but he's had a number of preseasons now. He's durable and he's available and he's reliable. I think he's extremely coachable. I think he does all the little things that a coach would want. It's the things that I see at training, like the repeat efforts, the unrewarded running, the shepherd after a handball, the little things. I haven't asked Michael Voss this, but I'm going to ask him if I get a chance about Ollie Hollands and what he's like to coach, because I think he'd be a dream. He's had a bit of an apprenticeship now, you know, on the wing. He's gone behind the ball last year. It seems like he's going to be back on the wing this year based on some of the little bits and pieces that we've seen from him. And he looks to be a layer stronger than what he was last year. He really looks like he's ready to just become a really reliable player. And I think it's time to just start trusting that he puts the work in. A lot of the fan base can get on his case a bit at times, but I just love everything I've seen from him, and I'm curious to see how it translates. The other one is his brother, Elijah. No secret sauce, super talented. He looks extremely fit. I'm so pleased in the story. I'm pleased that he's been able to get himself to this point. And I loved that when they showed the announcement of him getting the news in front of the group, it was business as usual. He wasn't over celebrating, and it wasn't like, oh yeah, job's done. It was, okay, I'm back where I should have been, and now the job starts. So I think the Hollands boys, by the end of this season, there'll be a lot of talk about them and how good they are and how much they've improved, and really pumped for that. I think the other one as well, I think Mark Pitternet, this is the fittest I've ever seen this guy. The way he's covering the ground, he plays in a brutal position, he plays in a brutal way, and the rule changes have now made it even harder for rucks of his caliber. He's a bit more of a strength type ruck than what he is an athletic ruck. I don't know how it happened and why it's happening, but maybe it's because De Koning was in the team for so long. Pitto seemed to get judged and seems to get judged through this lens of, oh, he doesn't get enough of the ball, doesn't do enough around the ground, doesn't take enough marks. I don't really get it. How many marks a game does he need to take in order for him? I mean, if he was taking 2 to 3 marks a game on top of everything he does at stoppage, he'd be one of the best rucks in the competition. So he definitely has his shortcomings, but what I love about him is he plays to his strengths and he makes midfielders around him better. And that's a big part of what I think is going to determine whether Carlton improve or not. If there's more players in the team who play in a way that benefits others and that selflessness starts infecting everyone, the team will be better. And I think he's an important piece to that puzzle. So I like those 3. I'm really excited for Zach Williams. This is a contract year for him, and he looks fit. He's playing behind the ball. We don't have to fit Sam Doherty behind the ball as well as Zach Williams like we had in the past, and maybe it didn't work. And so he really needs to, have a great season and become reliable. I spoke to Heath Buck a few weeks ago about this, and he said this, and yeah, I think he's absolutely spot on. So Zach's got the energy. He's a Carlton person at heart, one of the better people that you'll go to the club and bump into, and he's just so welcoming, and there's no wall between player and fan when it comes to Zach Williams. He loves it. He absolutely loves it. He loves all of it. He's extremely passionate about being a Carlton person. And so he's got all those elements. He's had some continuity in his body. He's played forward. He's played back. He's gone back now. And yeah, I think he's a really important piece. And, if he's going to play 20 plus games this year, I think it'll be the difference between how this how this team functions. I really do, because he does certain things that other players can't do in the back line. So I'm excited for him. Now, we'll get into some predictions. We'll start with, we've got so many recruits. So we can probably do a best recruit. Does Jagga fall into this category, or is he best first year player? So Jagga's going to be Jagga. I'm mindful he'll need rests at certain times in the year, but I think he's just going to be solid. I liken it to, I remember when Blake Griffin was drafted to the Los Angeles Clippers in the NBA, and he had to sit out his entire first year through injury, and he came back and played his first season in his second year in the league, and he was just so much better prepared for the league, and I think Jagga will be the exact same. But out of all the recruits, I lean towards Hayward and Ainsworth. Ainsworth's a really interesting one, because up until this point, he's played a really defined role at the Gold Coast Suns. And it seems like through the language that I'm hearing and through some of the things that I've noticed at training and in practice matches, that they're going to free him up a little bit. I think he's a surprise packet. And I think what they were maybe trying to do with someone like a Jesse Motlop last year, for example, I think Ben Ainsworth is better suited to it if he's going to be pushing up the ground a bit more and having more touches throughout the midfield. So I like those two. Best and fairest, I think this is just the Sam Walsh year. He's just back at it, back to his best, done a full preseason. His running power is there. And like I said the other day in the practice match review, if we're going to get this run and carry, give and go with Cripps and Walsh and Hewitt and Jagga, and we're going to see Walsh bouncing the ball and doing those sorts of things, then he'll be back to his best. Pretty straightforward. Win the best and fairest. Maybe poll 30 Brownlow votes. Who knows? Who cares? I don't care too much about the individual awards, but I do think Sam Walsh is one of those players that is just going to remind not only us, but the rest of the league that he's one of the best. He's one of the premier players in the competition when he's up and going, and I think he's had a great preseason. He stands out at every session. His work rate, his intensity, and his relentlessness. So no secret sauce there, Sam Walsh, to be up there. If there was a surprise packet, like a surprise top 3 in the best and fairest from what I've seen, you know what? I'll go Elijah. Yeah, I'll go Elijah. I think I think the story, the retribution, all of that, I think that'll play in his favor when it comes to voting. But yeah, I think one of these Hollands boys will be in the top 3, and it'll be a remarkable story. Top 3, top 5. So does that make them a breakout player? I don't know, but that's what I think. And then the final one, everyone wants to know, where are the Blues going to finish? Well, you know what? A lot of these videos, it's all if. It really is all if. And the way I see it, if there's health, if there's alignment, if there's connection, this team's a finals team from my lens. I don't think we're a top 4 side. I think there's sides that deserve to be spoken in a higher regard because they've put, the proof is in the pudding and what they've done over a long period of time. But I think this narrative around Carlton could sneak into the wildcard round is just wild. Pardon the pun. I think the Blues can be a finals team in the 8, in the 6. Best case scenario. I don't see this team being a bottom 4 team. I'd be stunned. I think it would take mass injuries for this team to be a bottom 4 team. So I'm looking forward to being the little darlings again. I don't think this club gets the opportunity to be the darlings because there's just so much that comes with the Carlton Football Club and so many eyeballs, and it works for clicks. It works for mainstream when they want to put fear out there. John Ralph loves it, absolutely loves his opportunity to do a little bit of sensationalism when it comes to the Carlton Football Club, for example. So, yeah, I think there'll be a quick narrative early in the season of, oh, wow, they've surpassed expectations. And, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But as I said, I think the overarching theme for me this year is let's get the soul back to this club. Let's bring it back. Let's get on the same page. Let's get aligned and then see where that takes us. Bring back the Carlton Roar, I say. What about you? What is your season preview for 2026? What have you seen from the back end of last year all the way through to the preseason that leads you to think the way that you think right now? And then give me some of your predictions. Give me a best and fairest, breakout player, best recruit, leading goal kicker, I don't know, whatever else you want to predict. Let me know in the comments below and we'll unpack it all. Can't wait. Go Blues.